Everyone's building in the suburbs. Why did you want to build downtown?
Well, Edward Bennett Williams deserves much of the credit for the location. The origins of Camden Yards really go back into the early days of August 1979 when Williams acquired the Orioles on August 2nd, 1979. I thought after the frenzy of acquiring the team, I could go away for a few days and rest up and recharge my batteries. When I was thinking of going, Williams called me and said, "No, no, you can't go anywhere. You got to jump on a helicopter between Baltimore and Washington and fly back and forth and try to find a site for a new ballpark." Because we knew that Memorial Stadium was inadequate and aging, and a combination that we had to share with the Colts. It was just an untenable situation long term. So he sent me on this helicopter ride. Really, I think in early August, immediately precluding any vacation, of course, and so we thought about someplace in between. And as we drove back to Washington, and when we got to Washington, the place we went to dinner, the waiters got together and saying, "Take me out to the ball game." So they were certainly anticipating the possibility of the baseball team moving from Baltimore to closer over to Washington. But I was there. We spent the next couple of years talking about the ballpark and the possibility of a ballpark. And then things changed dramatically. I guess it was when the Colts decided to depart in '82 or '83. I'm not sure which year it was. And when they stole away in the dark of night, we knew we had an opportunity. The city of Baltimore and the state of Maryland would not want to lose another sports team that way or anyway, frankly, for that matter. So Williams decided that we should pursue a ballpark with great seriousness. The governor set out a task force to try to find a site, again, halfway between Baltimore and Washington. And that went on for a little while. And then I was with Williams when the governor called and said, "We got to decide on this site." And Williams said, "I've been thinking about what we've been doing for the last few years, and trying to build a ballpark halfway between Baltimore and Washington was like trying to build a home halfway between your wife and your girlfriend. You got to make a commitment, and we'll make a commitment to Baltimore. And this is in the right part of Baltimore. It was down in the lower quadrant and close to Washington. Instead of having to navigate your way through Baltimore to the far corner, it was closer to Washington, and in some ways, it was more convenient for Washingtonians. In many ways, it was. And so I remember him saying that. I was struck by the phrasing, and we all were. And the decision was made to do Camden Yards, and it did fit with our notion of an urban ballpark. We just we didn't think, at least I didn't think, that a ballpark for baseball should be in the suburbs. It should be in the city. Baseball is the quintessential urban game, and it should be in the city. And that's when we decided, or when Williams decided, that the team should be built, the ballpark should be built at Camden Yards.
And how was that greeted by the commissioner and others who wanted the?
Well, it was kind of a brilliant compromise because it was in the part of Baltimore that was just inside the Baltimore city line and very close to Washington, and so it could be a team for both cities. What was the theory, and it was greeted quite well. What was not greeted as well was the notion of a baseball only facility. We had been talking that way since the early '80s, and Williams, I remember his reaction to me when I suggested it was, "Wait a second, you want to build not one ballpark but two?" Are you crazy? And he said, I'll tell you what, you can float it to the media, see if anybody picks it up. But whatever you do, don't mention my name. I don't want to be associated with a cockamamie idea like that.
How did the Orioles organization feel about the restoring of the B&O warehouse?
We had to negotiate that issue, and so we were constantly posturing vis-a-vis it. Ultimately, we wanted it to stay. We thought it was an important part of the ecosystem, and but we couldn't say that too directly, too immediately, and so we talked around it a fair bit, and then finally we agreed if you're going to put us way out there in the warehouse, okay, for our offices, and please give us big, nice offices, and that's the way it was resolved.
Will you tell the story about the announcement of the deal, catching trains? I know it was last minute.
Yeah, it was very much a last minute. Herb Belgrade gets too little credit and too little blame, I think, for Camden Yards. He was the chairman of the Stadium Authority, and he and I were negotiating all the way up to the Union Station in Baltimore. We took a train on May 2nd when the announcement was going to be made that we had reached a long term agreement with the state, and the lease was essentially in place. Well, we didn't reach that agreement until we pulled into the station, and then I remember calling Williams and said, "We have a deal," and he was saying, "Well, you cut it awfully close." And he 10 year, and man, of course we had, and so we negotiated the final terms. Williams, to his credit, also gets too low credit. He was determined. I had told him about the option of having a team on a 1 year lease, which is what we had, and how much more valuable that could be somewhere else, uh, because there was a team was had mobility, and he would not hear of it. He wanted to make a deal in Baltimore because he had said he would keep the team in Baltimore so long as it was um, supported, and so we stayed in Baltimore, and to the great good fortune of the city and to the team.
Can you give us some insight on the design of the ballpark and what were the greatest challenges?
Yeah, the design of the ballpark really came out of my youth. I say oftentimes that it was the one good idea that I had ever had was the traditional old-fashioned ballpark. I was tired of the concrete donuts that were built in the late 60s and the early 70s. And I thought that a ballpark that had some of the virtues of an old fashioned ballpark would be very well received. And I was right. When we went public with the idea of a baseball only facility, uh, the press loved it, and I'm not sure about the politicians, but the press loved it, and it came in part out of my youth. I had seen the movement from Forbes Field, which was a traditional baseball ballpark, irregular in its dimensions, etc.,
Mhm.
to the concrete donut that was Three River Stadium. That looked like every other ballpark in America, every other stadium in America, and and so that's the origin of the idea. But we were influenced certainly by Fenway Park, by Ebbets Field, by other charming. I remember saying to Ed Williams at one point, "Let's look at the most stable and prosperous baseball teams: the Yankees, the Cubs, the Dodgers. Detroit was at that time." And we said, what do they have in common? They all play in a baseball only facility, so let's build a baseball only facility for us. The Colts are gone, and we don't have to make that compromise because who knows if there will be another baseball team, or excuse me, football team in Baltimore.
Mhm.
So we got away from the compromises that were necessary, and we built a traditional old-fashioned ballpark with modern amenities and lots of irregularities.
Who had the foresight to know that this could transform urban areas? Because that's a gamble.
It would be an important device to be used by the city to help transform the urban area that was Baltimore. We thought that it could be used, if deployed properly, as a way to develop an entire area, not just the ballpark district, but an entire area. And I would say the city was well aware of that all the time under Mayor William Donald Schaefer, and we were too. And I think it made for a more interesting negotiation.
And your model of building in an urban area has now succeeded in so many other places. You know, Cleveland, Denver. It's a bit of a risk to build in the not so nice neighborhoods, but it's been successful not only in major league parks but many minor league parks.
Well,
Will you
thank
talk
for
about
saying that.
the ripple effect that you started?
Well, we didn't plan to ignite a fire. We planned on just building a nice little ballpark for Baltimore. I remember saying that when the Sports Illustrated article came out, comparing our ballpark with the one that was being built simultaneously, which was in Toronto. And I said to my friend Paul Beeston, who was the CEO of the Toronto Blue Jays, I said, Paul, you're trying to build the eighth wonder of the world. You have a hotel in that. You have everything. We're just trying to build a nice little ballpark. The title of the article was A Nice Little Ballpark. And I think that's what we succeeded in building in Baltimore.
Last night you were honored for having built Petco Park. That was not another Camden Yards. You were determined to make that something different, correct?
Yes, we were determined. One of the keys to ballpark building, I think, I can speak to this after 5 projects involving ballparks in 5 different cities, is that it look and feel and taste and smell like the town in which it belongs. And that was the problem with the concrete donuts of the 70s. They could have been anywhere. Three Rivers could have been Riverfront, could have been Fulton County Stadium. They were all very much the same. And we wanted to build something in San Diego that was distinctive. There was a ballpark, not a stadium. We made a big deal about that distinction. Mm-hmm. And we built it with an idea that it would be outdoorsy, that would take advantage of the beautiful climate in San Diego, and it would not have the industrial look that Baltimore could do with red brick and the warehouse and all of that, but it would feel a lot more like San Diego.
And looking back, tell me about I know it was Camden Yards was the rail yard that was there, but talk about how it was named, the discussions that went on about that.
Well, the name was present at the site. It was natural. It developed organically. In fact, everywhere in the world it's known as Camden Yards, except in Baltimore, where it's known as Oriole Park. We came up with a combination name with the governor one day at lunch, and we argued over prepositions, which should be in between Oriole Park, or should it be Camden Yards, or should it be Oriole Park of Camden Yards, or at Camden Yards, and so we came up with a combination stadium in order to please everyone. Combination ballpark name. Excuse me, I always slipped into the stadium jargon.
I think one more question. When you look back on it now, that ballpark still feels new, and it's still relished by fans.
And the Angelos family took good care of the ballpark, and we were there through '93, and I think our attendance in the first year was 3.6 million, and the second year was 3.7 million, which is a many multiples of what we were drawing in Memorial Stadium. And as to its perpetual look, I think the fact that it touches so many baseball sacraments, so many traditional baseball elements, the irregularity, the intimacy, those are things that would stand the test of time, and it has stood the test of time as long as it's taken care of. And Peter Angelos made sure that would happen.
I could ask you questions for hours, but is there anything else that you'd want to add? A big chunk of the story that,
well,
this will be narrated, so we'll cover everything.
The origins of it is quite interesting. I'm not sure people know about the 2 days after the purchase of the team in August, I was on a helicopter looking for a site, halfway between Baltimore and Washington, or somewhere between Baltimore and Washington, that could be the site of a new ballpark. And the commissioner at that time, Lucchino, was very excited about that prospect. He wanted to have something that would service the D.C. area as well.
Mm-hmm. You did.
Let me see. Jana Marie. How about one of the
Right.
first decisions I made was in 1989 when we had a flurry of letters over the transom, and Calvin Hill, who was our vice president of personnel at the time, had written no's to these various people, and I was looking as I was signing the no letters. I was looking and I said, Calvin, this is a woman who is an architect by training and is an urban planner by experience. I'm drowning in this Camden Yard stuff. I'm just drowning. Why don't we at least have her in? So she came in for an interview, and it was the best hire we made in that free agent period, draft free agent period. I remember saying to Janet, before you sit down, Janet, which league has a designated hitter? Now, I'm embarrassed by that question because it presumes that a woman wouldn't know. But she was offended by the question, she said. And I said, sit down, let's talk. And she gave life to the concepts that we were talking about at the time in terms of traditional, old-fashioned ballpark. She gave us the stanchions at the end of the row from the 1890s. And the whole place took on a traditional and historic vibe. Thanks, sir.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Anything else?
That is it. So what I'll do is I'm going to go through your interview, put it where it goes in the timeline, and then where there are gaps, it'll either be voiced over or maybe I'll get you for 10 minutes in Worcester.
Sure.
Or actually, sooner or later you would see a product and you would say it's missing this or that.
To give Williams credit, and Governor Schaefer credit, and I think I have.
Mm-hmm.
Edward Bennett Williams passed on the possibility of selling the team to someone who would relocate it out of Baltimore, and he deserves recognition for that, the commitment and that constancy. And the heirs to the Williams estate could have sold the team to another city and probably made more money than the money that was obtained from the sale of the team to a group that I was a part of. But I give them great credit for honoring Ed's wishes and sacrificing for it.
That's an interesting nugget that's not out there.
That's enough for now. Bart Giamatti, he gave it an A. And I said, Bart, I know you guilty of a little great inflation. What about an A+? He said, a little more eccentricity. So we put a window in the outfield, we put a door in right field, and we did some other things to create some eccentricities. And he loved it. And he was such a baseball guy and such a traditional baseball guy. I'm not surprised.
So at that point, did you have the irregular outfield walls, and he wanted more?
We did. He wanted even more irregular. We always had asymmetry in the ballpark to fit the site and not the no preconceived notion of what a ballpark should be.